Okay. Erev Tov. Good evening, everybody. Quick reminder to switch off your phones, please, as I'm now doing. So, for those watching the recording on YouTube or on our podcast, please share social media, subscribe, all the usual things. For those of you here with us, welcome. It's always good to see a lot of people here for this series. This is the 8th in our series. Those of you who were here right at the beginning may recognize our guest, Michael Bar Zohar, who was here from day one to talk about David Ben Gurion. We've gone through several more impressive people since then, of course, but we've reached Shimon Peres. As with Ben Gurion, Michael Bar Zohar knew Shimon Peres personally. Michael Bar Zohar is an Israeli historian, journalist, biographer, former politician. He immigrated to Israel from Bulgaria as a child, went on to study at the Hebrew University, later earned a doctorate from the University of Paris. He's the author of several books, including biographies of both David Ben Gurion and Shimon Peres. He also played a role in public life, serving as a member of the Knesset for the Labour Party in the 1980s. Michael Bar Zohar, thank you for joining us once again.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Now, I want to ask you, I think I asked you a similar question about Ben Gurion, but because you knew Shimon Peres personally, maybe you could tell us a little, before we get into his prime ministership and his life, about your personal connection with him, how you knew him, what your relationship with him was.
Yes, I was in Paris studying for my PhD, and I decided to write my thesis on the relations between France and Israel during the Sinai campaign and the Suez War. And I was a student. I came back to Israel, tried to get to the Ministry of Defense, got to the ministry, and then I met Shimon Peres.
Who was then the Director General,
Director General
of the Ministry of Defense.
Yes.
Very young Director General.
Right. He started. And Peres told his secretary, give him some material. I got a little bit of his speeches inside the Ministry of Defense about what we did in France. And for me, it was very interesting. And I kept coming back. I also met him in France. And when I presented my thesis, it was exactly the day, I didn't know that Ben Gurion left his office. It was the 15th of June, 1963. I called Shimon Peres at the Bristol Hotel to say, today I'm presenting my thesis. Will you come to the Sorbonne? And he had left already because everybody was, didn't know what was going to happen. And then there was a friendship between us, on and off, I must say. In some things, we were in full agreement, but there were also a lot of clashes between us.
Okay.
I was Ben Gurionist, to the last point. And Shimon had admired Ben Gurion. For him, Ben Gurion was number one, Dayan number two, he was number three.
Right.
But still, he was a different man. I think Ben Gurion was much tougher than Shimon Peres was. And we became neighbors. We lived in two buildings adjacent to each other in Tel Aviv. And a long time we went to spend time with Shimon and Sonia, his wife. If I can jump forward after, Sonia his wife was a different person. And when he ran for president, she told me, tell Shimon, if he goes to Jerusalem as president, I am not going with him. So I went to Paris and told him. He said, don't worry. Hitavo, she will come. She did not come.
Wow.
Not only she did not come, but there was this kind of gap between them, which went on growing. She went back to her maiden name,
Wow.
Sonia Gilman. Yes. She told him, take your things out of here. And he became president without his wife.
Wow.
And he did everything possible to bring her back by giving interviews, speaking about how wonderful she was wonderful, unbelievable. But finally, the end was rather sad. He remained completely alone, and Sonia did not come back.
Wow. Okay,
I asked her, what do you want to do? She said, I want to go to Kibbutz Alumot. I said, when? He said, yesterday. And she wanted with him to get old and die together. And we spoke, a few of us friends, with Peres, and we asked him, why don't you go with Sonia to an old people's house, you know, this Mish'an, something like that. He said, do you want to kill me? Do you want me to die? Because for him, the political arena and the doing things for Israel was the most important.
Right.
If you took that away from him.
Right. Yeah. So I want to talk about that because I think that's one of the consistent things through his life is that he's constantly involved in Israeli public life. So I want to focus later specifically on his two periods as prime minister, but he, as you mentioned when you first met him, he was a very young Director General of the Ministry of Defense. He was a protege of Ben Gurion. He was part of him and Dayan were these, and I guess Teddy Kollek were these sort of three young men that Ben Gurion was sort of grooming as the young political class. But when he sort of broke into the political scene, he found himself, I guess, firstly, he was a bit of an outsider because the Ben Gurion faction was somewhat outside of the Labour Party at that point, right? Under Eshkol and Golda Meir, and then eventually it's Rabin who becomes prime minister, not Peres. Peres probably assumed that he would be the new young thing coming through, but that relationship is very, I was going to say interesting. That's probably an understatement. The Rabin-Peres relationship, and we talked about it a little when we talked about Rabin. We had Itamar Rabinovich talking about Yitzhak Rabin a few weeks ago. Can you tell us a little bit about that relationship, the Peres-Rabin relationship?
But you know, it happened in a kind of process which was there. Shimon Peres was unknown in the Labour Party, in Mapai, the party of Ben Gurion. And then there was this young generation which he wanted to get. The young generation was organized in an organization of youth. They were called working youth. And there were about 15,000 kids all over the country. And they belonged actually to the future party Achdut Avoda, which was a kind of section from Mapai, but they did not agree with Ben Gurion in many things.
Right.
And then,
as always on the left, there are different factions, right?
You know, that's the problem. Always in Israel.
Very true.
And then one day there was going to be the Congress after the war, the World War II, of the working youth. And Shimon Peres asked his boss, his friends in the party, what are you going to do? All these 14,000 kids, they go with the Achdut Avoda, with our opponent in the party. And they said, what can we do? He said, let me. And he had a kind of Kamami motorcycle, and he went all over the country, from kibbutz to moshav to town to all kind of plants, of places where young people were working, and tried to convince them to go with him. And then the Congress started in many ways according to the Bolshevik, tradition. Everybody's down. There is the dais, and all the leaders of Achdut Avoda and so on sit there, and then they propose all kinds of decisions. And of course, everybody unanimously raises his hand. Everybody is for them. That's the way it was not done in the mother country once. And then they proposed the names of the steering committee and the future Secretary General of Working Youth. And they said, do we have any other candidate? And the answer is no. And suddenly, Shimon raises his hand. He said, I have a different list. What? And that never happened. Somebody to dare, to oppose the government.
The party, Go against the party line.
No, I have a list. And they said, talking about. He said, I have a list, and I want to run against your candidate. And he said, okay, let's see you. We put it to a vote. And he won.
Wow.
Suddenly, this guy, coming out of nowhere, succeeded to win and to take the entire working youth from the ultra-left organization to Mapai, to the central part. And they never forgave him. Until today, if you go to some of the kibbutzim of Achdut Avodah, and you say, Shimon Peres, they said, he stole the youth from us. He stole our youth. So they didn't like him too much. And he became very close to Ben Gurion. But he was in the field of politics. Not on the field of defense.
Right.
And something very strange. The World War came, and Sonia, his girlfriend, she was wonderful. She said, we are going to enlist in the British Army. He said, no, I don't enlist. I want to build a kibbutz. She said, very nice, but there is a war in the world. No. And for that, they split. She left him. And the entire World War, he was working for his kibbutz and in the kibbutz, and she went to the army. She became first an assistant nurse, then a driver for the big trucks of the British Army. And only after the war, he succeeded to bring her back and to marry her. And they were a wonderful couple, wonderful relations between them. But he did not join the army. And when in 47, 48, things started to happen in the field of defense. He was secretary of his kibbutz, and then one day, kibbutz Alumot, which is close to the Tiberias, close to the sea. And one day, a guy from the kibbutzim who was very, very deeply involved in defense came to the kibbutz and asked to have Shimon to come to Tel Aviv and to work in the general staff of the Haganah. Now, Shimon didn't know nothing about security. He was in the kibbutz. But this guy convinced him, and he came to Tel Aviv. And he had this office close to Ben Gurion. And suddenly, at the age of 20, 21, this guy discovered defense, discovered what he called bitachon, security. He went to buy weapons and things. He did wonderful things. He was close to Ben Gurion, and I found there was a note in his drawer signed by Ben Gurion. He said, Shimon, when you go home, please don't forget to turn off the lights, because he was staying alone. For him, that was all wonderful. But all his friends enlisted in the army. He did not.
Because it's that sort of paradox in a way, because the criticism of him from Rabin and others was that he, unlike Rabin, of course, and others, Dayan, Yigal Allon, and others, wasn't fighting, wasn't a soldier, wasn't a hero of the war, wasn't in the Palmach or the Haganah. But on the other hand, he was instrumental in building up the IDF. He was the guy who developed the Israeli military in so many ways.
Definitely.
In an administrative sense.
But they did not forget.
Right.
Yigal Allon said once, Yigal Allon was the greatest general in the War of Independence. I never met him in the trenches. And the poet of the Palmach said he heard bullets whizzing only on telephone. So, and Shimon did not understand that actually the elite
Yeah.
of the Israeli future was forming in fighting the enemy.
That's really
He
interesting.
did not. Once he even told me I made a mistake. I spoke to Mokalimon, who was the head of the marine. I spoke to Tzvi Tzur, who was Ramatkal. Everybody was around him. Everybody said, we made a big mistake because he is a brave man. He's not a coward. He's a brave man. He said, I don't want to have somebody to tell me what to do. And that remained for him an obstacle for the future.
Right.
He met then Yitzhak Rabin a couple of times. Rabin was not a big hero at the time.
Right.
And Ben Gurion wrote about Rabin in his diary. People tell him that he is cautious. On my opinion, very cautious. Too cautious.
Too cautious.
Too cautious. But Shimon was very close to Ben Gurion, to Dayan, to all this group.
Yeah.
And then in 1955, Egypt signs an agreement with Czechoslovakia, with the Soviet Union, actually, for the delivery of huge, it's a legendary numbers of weapons to Egypt. And Israel is without weapons. We had about 24 meteor planes. They got more than 100 jet fighters and bombers, the Ilyushin 24. And nobody in Israel knew what to do. The Russia did not want to sell us weapons. The British saw Israel and wrote about Israel as an enemy state. I found it in London, in the PNR. It is an enemy state or hostile state. America said, no way. We don't deliver, we don't give you weapons, etc. And Shimon Peres came to the government and said, let me try France.
Yeah.
And they laughed at him because France was supposed to be a kind of Mickey Mouse state, in governments which fell every couple of weeks. An army which did not fight during the
As a former
war.
Brit, you're speaking my language, but I'm not going to get into that.
Anyway, so he came to France without knowing a word in French. He said, I came with my big shoes of a kibbutznik to their beautiful halls and places. And he succeeded to create a huge lobby of military, reporters, members of parliament, public figures, which were all for Israel. At that time, started the war in Algeria. France there was a revolt by the Arabs in Algeria. Yeah. And the French could not understand that these people, these Algerians, they are members of France. Algeria was a French region, according to their constitution. Yeah. So why do they revolt against us? The French did not understand that these people wanted to be free and to have their own government. Yeah. And the French they looked for the let's say the devil behind it, and if they found him, it was Nasser, the president of Egypt. He's supporting the rebels in Algeria, which was true. Yeah. He's sending them arms, weapons. He trains their commandos. He gives them money. He defends them on the international arena. He's the culprit. So the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And then started a rapprochement between France and Israel. Yeah. Until finally, and Peres succeeded. Peres became a close buddy, a close friend of the Minister of Defense.
The French Minister of Defense.
The French Minister of Defense, Bourges Monnery. And they were so close and so similar that we called Bourges Monnery the French Peres. They became real friends. Even when Bourges Monnery wanted to go with his girlfriend to a dinner, he was a married man. So he wanted to go out with her. They took Shimon in order for Shimon to be the alibi for Bourges. He was the guy.
I'm resisting the temptation to say something about French stereotypes, but okay.
Anyway, but then started a process which brought us at something very important. They brought in secret David Ben Gurion to Paris, and Moshe Dayan and Shimon Peres. And they met in a villa outside of Paris, in Sèvres. They met all the French government, all the leaders of the military, and the British secretary, chief of the Foreign Office, which was Selwyn Lloyd. And finally, after 3 days of secret negotiations, they reached an agreement. Now, the state of Israel was 8 years old. It was gloom, nothing. We had how much? 1 million people.
Yeah.
And suddenly they participate in a top secret conference, and they reach an agreement, an alliance with the British and the French.
Yeah.
I won't go in that direction. But the date when they signed the agreement, try to imagine the second floor of this villa in Sèvres. In one room, Moshe Dayan is sitting with the French and the British, and they are writing the agreement. In the living room, on one side, you have Ben Gurion and Peres standing. On the other side, there is Bourges Monnery, the Minister of Defense, and Christian Pinot, the Minister of Foreign Affairs. And Peres turns to Ben Gurion and said, now? And Ben Gurion said, go. Peres crosses the salon and gets into French territory. And he says to the two ministers, he says, you see, we are now going to help you in the British and in this colonial war for you. So we shall be ostracized by the entire third world. Everybody will be against us. We might be also in danger. We need to have a kind of weapon to defend ourselves. And Bourges said, you mean you want to have a nuclear power? Shimon Peres said, yes. The two of them had discussed it before. And then Christian Pinot, the minister, said, I'm sorry, we cannot go into that. He says, why? He said, for your nuclear reactor, which we are going to give you, you need uranium. Now, according to the laws of Euratom, the European Atom Organization, we cannot sell uranium to a country which is not a European country. So it can't work. So Peres said to him, you know what? Don't sell us the uranium. Lend it to us. We shall take it. We shall use it. And afterwards, we said, that sounds ridiculous. Christian Pinot told me the story. The Minister of Foreign Affairs. He said, I said, yes, this is possible. And then everything starts.
Wow.
But we are in October 1956. The Xana campaign happens. Everything, I don't want to get into that.
Right, just to be clear, we're talking about the British-French-Israeli campaign in Sinai, in Suez, the Suez campaign, 1956.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, according the people around Ben Gurion hear about his secret plan to build a nuclear reactor. Everybody is against it. Everybody. The worst is Golda. He said, no way, no way, no way. Only the Americans agree. The Americans would have agreed to build a nuclear center in Israel.
Yeah.
No. Eshkol, who is then Minister of Finance, he comes to Paris and says, here will grow, grass will grow here, because before I give you 1 penny for your crazy idea. Wahdut Avoda, Yigal Allon and Galili said, we don't want to have anything to do with nuclear thing.
Wow.
Rabin says, if I had this money, I could have created two brigades for the army. He doesn't understand what it's all about. Israel, the head of the Mossad, says, no way, the Russians will attack us.
Wow.
The only one who agrees with Ben-Gurion and Peres is Moshe Dayan. He says to Shimon, look, I am behind you, but remember, I'm completely untrustworthy. Don't try to rely on me. That's the situation. And in September 1957, when we have to sign the final agreements with France, Golda arrived from Paris. She is Minister of Foreign Affairs. She comes to Ben-Gurion. She's very, very happy. She said, I was in Paris. I spoke to Guy Mollet, the head of the Socialist Party, and to Christian Pinot, who is still Minister of Foreign Affairs. And they told me they don't agree anymore to help you with the reactor. No reactor. She's very happy. And Peres said, may I go to Paris and try to mend things? And Peres said, go ahead. He said, Golda wanted to strangle him. He goes to Paris. He arrives on the 30th of September in the afternoon, 1957. And he finds Paris in a complete disarray. There is a problem with the war in Algeria. There is a vote of no confidence on me, on whom? On Bourges-Monory. In the meantime, he became Prime Minister of France. And they want to defeat his government. Shimon arrives. Tomorrow, he wants to go. He first of all goes the following morning. He goes to Christian Pinot in the palace of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Pinot is a very sweet man. I go in him well. He opens the door. He said, Shimon, I'm so happy to see you again, that you come. But before we start speaking, I must warn you. I changed my mind. I don't support the reactor. Without him, you can't have the agreement.
Yeah.
But Peres, during the night, he had done his homework. He decided to guess and to find all the questions, all the topics about which Pinot would disagree with Israel. He knows what he's going to ask, and he knows what to answer. And they start to speak. And after an hour, I'm quoting Pinot. After an hour, Pinot says, you convinced me, I changed my mind, I shall support the reactor.
Wow.
That couldn't happen anywhere except in France. No, serious.
Amazing.
And Pinot writes a letter to the Prime Minister saying, I agreed with Mr. Peres to support the nuclear reactor.
Wow.
I saw the letter. And Peres said, but how shall I bring it to the Prime Minister? He's in the parliament, he's fighting for his life. Peres said, give me the letter, I shall bring it to him. Top secret letter. Give it to the Director General of the Defense Ministry. And Peres goes with the letter. They push it under the door because Bourges-Monory is sitting with his government and they have a big discussion. Meaning, he gets the letter, passes to vote. The French government votes to build in Israel a nuclear reactor. Wonderful. Now, Bourges-Monory, as Prime Minister, has to sign it. But he's in the parliament, and there is fighting. So he leaves the office and he goes to fight in the plenary session of the parliament. The secretary of Bourges-Monory brings to Shimon a glass of whiskey. She said, it's 4 p.m., take the whiskey. In an hour, he'll be back, he'll sign your agreement. 5 p.m., a second glass of whiskey. 6, a third glass of whiskey. At about 10 in the evening, Peres realizes he's not going to see Bourges. Right? So he goes back to his hotel. Midnight, there is a vote, and the government of Bourges-Monory is defeated. He's not prime minister anymore. And I found in the diary of Ben-Gurion, it is written I heard on the BBC that the government of France fell. Such a pity Shimon went to Paris in vain. Right? No. The following morning, Shimon meets Bourges-Monory, who is no more prime minister. And Bourges said, I wanted very much to help you. Shimon said, but what can I do? Shimon said, tell me what you can do. let's antedate the agreement with one day, like you signed yesterday when you were still prime minister. That's funny. This was the biggest fraud in our history. These two people, Peres and Bourges, lied to the entire world. Bourges said, good idea. He signed it. And with this document, we got our nuclear reactor.
Wow. So, okay, so it's clear. So Peres was, from a very young age, an extremely resourceful, really quite brilliant in many ways man. But
you asked me about Rabin.
Yeah. So I just want to jump forward a little. So because some of my audience here will have heard about Rabin from our previous guests, and in Rabin becomes prime minister in 1974, and Peres becomes his defense minister.
Yes.
And they have a very tense relationship.
Peres already challenged Rabin.
Right, for the leadership.
Golda leaves office.
Golda resigns.
Because her party kicks her out.
Yeah.
I was at the meeting when she couldn't stand it anymore.
Okay. Post-Yom Kippur War.
After the Yom Kippur War. And then the old leadership of the party decided who can come, who can become prime minister. They spoke about Pinchas Sapir, was minister. Now
the
minister,
finance minister, right?
Finance.
Yeah.
But Sapir was afraid. He said, I don't want it. I'm afraid I cannot do it. And then they remembered that during the war, Rabin was ambassador
in Washington.
In Washington. He is not in any way involved in the mishap, which they call. So they turned to Rabin.
Right.
And the entire party mechanism, everything starts working for him. And then Shimon Peres started to call members of the small group, which was the Rafi party of Ben Gurion, and which is now part of the Labor Party. But we are about 10%, 12% of the party. And I remember he called me and he says, Michael, I want to run for prime minister. I said, what? Are you out of your mind? How can he get run for prime minister? He represents a small faction of the Labor Party. Everybody is for Rabin. Rabin is war hero. No, he said, I'm going to run against him. And he ran against him. Rabin was furious to the point that Golda, who could not stand Shimon, Golda says to Rabin, what do you want? He has the right to run against you if he wants. And Golda hated Shimon. She didn't stand him. Because there is a lot of love, as you see, in our history.
Yeah.
And Peres runs against Rabin, and he loses by about 20 or 30 votes.
So much closer than people would have thought.
And Rabin makes a speech and said, goodbye, Shimon, I wish you well. Yitzhak Navon told me, he doesn't know where from is the fish peeing. I'll explain to him. And Yitzhak Navon has a meeting with Rabin and says, listen, you are prime minister, but this guy got almost 50% of the votes.
Yeah.
He represents half of the party.
Right.
You can't just tell him go away. You must become Minister of Defense. And Rabin did it with, let's say, in Yiddish they say, with Krächzen. You have to push him by force. He accepted it.
Right.
And then came the major story between them. 1976. Entebbe. You know the story about the plane which was hijacked, brought to Entebbe in Uganda. The president of Uganda, Idi Amin, was a friend of Arafat, of the other organization of Palestinian terrorists, and he supported the terrorists. And now the terrorists, they demand the liberation of about 40 or 45% people,
Mm.
terrorists of their organization. It was totally impossible because one was in Switzerland. Some of them were in prison in Germany. Some of them were in France. Some were in Israel. Some were disappeared.
Yeah.
Nobody knew where they were. So that was an impossible story. But on the other hand, people said, how can we save them? Entebbe, 5,000 kilometers from Israel, in the heart of Black Africa. How shall we save them?
Yeah.
So Rabin called Motagur, was commander-in-chief of the army, and said to him, do you have a plan? As Motagur says, yeah, we can parachute the paratroopers over the Lake Victoria.
Mm-hmm.
And from them, they'll swim and they'll get to the airport. And then they'll conquer the airport and save the hostages. And Rabin said, and how will they come back? Motagus. I didn't think about it. Now, beside that, when the commando, which is called the commando of the general staff of the army,
Yeah.
Sayeret Matkal,
Yeah, the
when
special forces.
When they heard about being parachuted in Lake Victoria, they said, hey, it is full of alligators, crocodiles. How can we be parachuted in the middle of the crocodiles? They will eat us alive. No way. So this failed. And Rabin did not want to do anything which is, let's say, too risky.
Mm.
He said, let's go to negotiate.
Negotiation.
Let's try to negotiate. Shimon Peres tried to convince him. He said, no, negotiate. And then Peres is the Minister of Defense. He entered into the general staff part of the ministry. And he says to them, who has an idea? And the generals say to him, I have no idea. No idea. He said, tell me what no ideas you have. And then he created a group in which you had several very, very good generals, like the head of the Air Force, like at the time, Ehud Barak was only a colonel. Quite a few others. There were also some people from the Mossad, but mostly that was the group. And the one who objected, not 100%, 200% to this group of even thinking was Motagur. He was commander-in-chief of the army. He said, if you want James Bond, not free me. If you want Goldfinger, not with me. If you want all kinds of adventures, I write about adventures of my dog. Azit, he had a dog called Azit, a bitch. And he told that she is a paratrooper dog. So I can write stories like that. What are you talking about? Can we do it? It's something in Africa. And he called the group of generals who were around Shimon, Moetzet Fantasia, the fantasy council. What are you talking about? And they step by step, Peres and the generals prepared a plan, a very good plan. Motagur, the commander-in-chief, no way.
Right.
I'm against it. But why are you against it? He said, we don't have enough intelligence. We don't know what happens there. So on a Thursday, the terrorists liberate the non-Jews of this who were hijacked.
Yeah.
And
they let the non-Jews go.
What to say?
They let the non-Jews go.
Out.
Yeah.
And they fly to Paris, to the airport of Orly. And we send our people to try to find from them what's happening. Where are the hostages? Who is guarding them? Nothing. And then suddenly, a quite elderly man goes to one of our generals, who is in civilian clothes, and he says, I know what you need. I am a former colonel in the French army. And he takes off his pocket a pocketbook full of writing and drawings. He said, here they are in the old terminal. The hostages are here. The terrorists are standing here, 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 and here, everything. He gives him a full account exactly of where the hostages are and where are the terrorists were protecting or guarding them, watching them. And at the same time, one of the greatest agents of the Mossad, Mike Harari, flies to Entebbe as pretending to be an Italian engineer, and his plane, a private plane, gets suddenly problems just when he's over the airfield, just when he's over the runways. And the plane makes all kinds of movements. He takes pictures of the runways, and he comes back with the pictures. They're still wet. And in Friday morning, Shimon goes to see Motagur, the commander-in-chief of the army, and he shows him the intelligence we got from the French and the photos still wet of Mike Harari. And Mota told me afterwards, he said, my face lit up. The moment he saw it, I said, I support you. Let's go to Rabin. And they go to Rabin. They say, well, we have a plan.
Yeah.
And for the first time, Rabin says, well, if you're sure, if you really believe, Rabin was not the one of let's say, initiated it.
Yeah.
But without Rabin's support.
Of course, he's the prime minister. Right.
He's the prime minister.
Yeah.
So Rabin, for the first time, he says, yes, but he must pass it through the government. So they decide that all the paratroopers and the fighters who are going to participate in this operation, which was crazy, in Entebbe, are going to board the planes in Tel Aviv and fly to Sharm el-Sheikh to refuel. In the meantime, the government will sit, and then after our planes are there, they can give them the order, yes or no. We still did not know that today we can do it. And indeed, they fly to Sharm el-Sheikh, they take off Sharm el-Sheikh again, and then they got the order, go.
Yeah.
Let's go. And they fly, and then they carry out the operation. You know that Peres is exalted. Peres is very happy. Rabin is very happy. And then they received the news that Yoni Netanyahu was killed.
Yeah.
I spoke to the people who were there, and until today, we don't know who killed him. The family wanted very much to say that he was killed by a terrorist. People who were around there say, no, he was killed by a Ugandan soldier. Okay. And that created a kind of rift between the Netanyahu family and the army. Because they wanted him to be killed by a terrorist. That makes his heroism more important. Nonsense.
I mean, he was a hero in any
hero, exactly. Anyway, and the relations between Peres and Rabin go sour more and more and more.
Because of claiming credit for Entebbe?
Not because it was only for Entebbe, because they were different in the way of thinking. Rabin was much more cautious, but much more, I would say, based on facts and taking responsibility for everything that happens. Peres was much more, I would say, fluid.
Yeah.
And Rabin could not stand him.
A kind of a dreamer.
A dreamer, but they say that even if 5% of the dreams of Peres had come true, we would have been a world power. Because really, as Amos Oz said, my friend Shimon stumbles and falls. Stumbles and falls because his eyes are in the stars. That's very nice.
Interesting.
And now Peres, to understand Peres, is to go back to his childhood. When he was 4 years old in Vishneva, Belarus, where he grew up. When he's 4 years old, he came to his grandmother with another child, same age, but the other one was a big fighter, very strong, the other child. And they said, they played the game, who is going to throw the other on the ground? And the other threw Peres on the ground. Peres got up and said in Yiddish to his grandmother, Nochamol, another time. They made it another time. A second time, the other threw him. A third time, the other threw him. A fourth time, and the grandmother said, Shimale, that's enough. He said, no, perhaps the next time I can do it. And that's Shimon Peres exactly. He all the time, he doesn't give up.
Yeah.
Even when he's in minority. He will fight and fight and fight. And finally, he told these people when they were working in France to obtain France's help, if they close the door, we'll enter by the window. If they close the window, we shall look for some hole in the ground and we shall get our way in. We have to find a way and obtain what we need.
Amazing.
And this kind of I would say, stubbornness was in him better and more fruitful than charisma. He didn't have a charisma.
Right.
But when he does this thing, and Moshe Dayan knew that very well, he understood that Peres was there. And these are the two things which I think are the major achievements of Peres, were the nuclear reactor, Dimona, because he did it. And I did not enter into what happened afterwards, because when de Gaulle became president of France, he said, stop them. Stop them. Stop the Israelis. They are getting too much, too important in France. At every office in the Ministry of Defense, I see a French officer and an Israeli officer. What's going on? And the nuclear, they might one day build a nuclear weapon. Stop them. And his Minister of Foreign Affairs was not Christian Pinot already. It was Couve de Miroville. And Couve was very, very loyal to de Gaulle. And Peres went to see him, and Couve said to him, no, we should stop. We shall give you an indemnity, but we should stop. Peres said, listen, we are swimming in a lake. Now we are in the middle of the lake. To get to the other side is exactly like going back. So let us, no way. And then Peres said, you know what? France would be attacked and criticized by all the Arab nations, by all the Muslim nations, for what she did to help the Israelis until now. Oh, said Couve de Miroville, don't worry. We shall not have any leak. We shall not tell anybody about it. Peres said, yes, perhaps you won't share, but I cannot guarantee that there are not going to be any leaks in outside. And Couve de Miroville, very smart, he says, you have a point there. That's exactly the words in English, because President Nofre, you have a point there. And then they found an agreement that Israel would continue in the help of France for another 3 months. The architect will continue to help, and then he'll pass all his plans, etc., etc., etc. And they brought to Israel more than 100 French scientists and engineers. They had to live in Beersheba and go every day to work in Dimona. They had false names, and we built for them an entire neighborhood, which exists until today, of small houses, which is the French neighborhood. Why I'm telling you that, I went once with a friend of mine, with John Friedman, to see the French, it was about a few years ago, the French Minister of Defense. I went to see him, and he received us in his office, and he said, Comment ça va à Beersheba? How are things in Beersheba? And my friend said to him, why the hell you're interested in Beersheba? He said, what? I lived 2 years in Beersheba. My name was changed to Monsieur Durand, and I worked in your nuclear reactor.
Oh my God. Michael, what I want to do, because I want to get to questions, but I want to talk a little about when Peres became prime minister in the 80s. In our last session, we talked about Yitzhak Shamir. So, of course, we talked about the rotation government with Shamir and Peres, right? The 84 election, it's inconclusive. Likud and Labour go into government together. The agreement is that Peres will serve for 2 years as prime minister and then rotate, and Shamir will take the second 2 years. So those first 2 years, 84 to 86, Peres is prime minister, and as it turns out, he's actually extremely important because there's an economic crisis. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how Peres was so important as prime minister in that period?
There was a huge economic crisis that time. We had an inflation of about 385%, something like that, in inflation.
Yeah,
which is terrible, and nobody knew how we can get out of it. And Peres organized a group of economists, of people who understood really the finances, and they were meeting with him and with the minister of finance, who was Mudai, and then Mudai was going to sleep, and they were starting again. And night after night, they were speaking and preparing the way that they could beat the inflation, to beat the inflation and to change in one single blow the entire situation. And for that, he needed the agreement of the United States, which should have given him a kind of guarantee. So he flew to the States and met with Reagan, who gave him the guarantee for the economy. He needed also the guarantee of the Histadrut, because they had to freeze the salaries for about 6 months.
Wow.
And no help, nothing. And when finally he succeeded to tie all these knots together, in one morning on Friday, 10 o'clock, he comes out and he announces the beginning of the new plan. There is the new shekel, was worth 1,000 old shekels, and they stopped the inflation. The following month, the inflation was from 385%, it fell to 15%. And then the following day to 10%. And today they are teaching this story in all the economic faculties in the world. How could you really, in one single blow, change that completely? Now, every time when Peres wanted to promote one of his ideas, he would find 1 or 2 members of the cabinet from the Likud who would vote for him, with him. He succeeded to convince one, it was David Levy, one, it was somebody from the old liberals. Always he succeeded. And then by the same method, he succeeded to get the Israeli army out of Lebanon and to leave only the army in this kind of security zone on the north of the Galilee. The second step was made in a very, I would say, questionable way by Barak.
In 2000, in the year 2000.
That until today, we're not sure it was right thing. So Peres was a good prime minister to the point that many of us said to him, cancel the rotation. Because Shamir had told him, if you fire Mudai or Sharon had attacked him very, 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 would say, roughly. And Mudai had called him a flying prime minister because Peres went to all kinds of meetings. If you fire them, we shall leave the cabinet. And some of us, we came to Peres and said, okay, you have good reason to fire Sharon or Mudai. Fire him. And they left the government. Peres had 80% of popularity for the first time. He told me people like me. He was, because in Israel, the situation was all the time that about half of the Israelis admired him and half of them loathed him until today. You meet them. There's half and half. Peres did not have a good name. The good things he did is when he did things, but he did not succeed to create an image which would win the support of everybody, of most of the people.
Yeah.
But this time, as prime minister, 80% support.
Yeah.
So we told him, go ahead, do it.
Yeah.
He said no. We found out later that Sonia, his wife, had told him, Shimon, you promised, you made the pledge about, you pledged that you are going to give back after 2 years the prime ministership to Shamir. You must keep your word. And he did it, in spite of the fact that he didn't change very much in the way Shamir treated him. And also in this period, and I look back at that time, he and Rabin were in a kind of eternal fight, as if the entire Israel belonged to them, and they can allow themselves to fight against each other, to attack each other. Rabin was much more outspoken. Peres was much more close-mouthed, and he never showed any hatred for Rabin. Rabin told him openly, and it was against everything that Peres did. One of the guy who wrote actually Rabin's memoirs, newspaperman from Ma'ariv, invented a name for Peres. He is the eternal Chatran,
Schema? Like schema, like subversive. Very good.
What?
Subversive.
Yes, exactly. And Rabin came to him and said to him, Doele, what is your grade in the army? He said, I'm sergeant. He said, that's the first time when you'll see a general commander-in-chief saluting a sergeant because of these words.
Wow.
And Rabin told me all the time, Peres, your friend. But Rabin was very much against. Peres all the time pretended, or I don't know, Peres never showed hatred or rage to Rabin, but it was a fact that these two people were fighting each other as if all of us belong to them.
So before we go to questions, one last question from me then. So let's jump forward to the 90s, Oslo peace process. Rabin is assassinated, and Peres becomes prime minister again. And there is a question at that point whether Peres should have called a general election.
Yes,
and most people assume, given the polls, that he would have won, because there was this, obviously, Rabin's assassination, the sympathy. Also, Netanyahu at the time was very unpopular at that particular point in the wake of the assassination. What can you tell us about maybe that decision to not go for elections, but also generally about Peres, those what was it, sort of 8 months or so after the assassination, where he's prime minister, leading up to the election, which he then loses to a very young Benjamin Netanyahu?
Let me tell you, I spoke to him about it. When Rabin was assassinated, I was in a small group with Peres, Leah Rabin, or Ephraim Sneh. We all went to see the body of Rabin the first time. He was lying in the room, and Peres was terribly, terribly shocked and moved by what happened, much more than we understood. So when we went to him 2 weeks later, and not alone, quite a few people came with me, and we said to Shimon, call immediate elections.
Yeah.
Now you have 18% or 19% more than you, Bibi.
Yeah.
Go ahead, go to the elections. And he said to me, I don't want to be elected on the blood of Rabin. And he meant it. He meant it. And I remember the night when the election. I must go a little bit back, if you allow me.
Sure.
In the Knesset, in the former Knesset, from 88 to 92, there were 5 members of parliament who came and made on the first day a press conference, and we said we are going to fight for the direct election of the prime minister.
To change the voting system.
Yes.
Yeah.
Shevach Weiss from the Labour Party, Uzi Landau from the Likud, Chato Tzidon from the party of Rafal, Bibi Netanyahu, and yours truly, and me. The first runaway was Shevach Weiss. He was very sweet, but he was a great coward. Somebody in the Labour Party said to him, "What, you went to that?" That was enough for him. He was not there anymore. The second to leave was Uzi Landau for ideological reason. The third to leave was Sidon, because he wanted to be in the Knesset, in a certain committee in the Knesset. Who remained? Bibi and me. And we worked together for 4 years in a wonderful friendship. That was a wonderful friendship between me and Bibi at the time. He was a little bit different than today. He was very loyal, very credible. It was a pleasure working with him. And who pushed us? Rabin. Rabin came back from America. Everything American was wonderful. So he wanted to transform Israel into a
more presidential system.
Presidential state kind of country. And Rabin understood that with our electional method, he will never do that. You can jump from what we have straight
to a presidential.
Yeah. So Rabin thought it was a very good idea as an intermediate stage to elect the prime minister directly, and people will get used to that. And he pushed us all the time. And one day he said to me, "Michael, you are in charge. I appoint you in charge of Bibi. You are going to take care that he votes with us." So I went back to Bibi and he said, "Michael, listen, I am a star." He said, "Star in Hebrew." He said, "Ani star. I'm a star. What the Likud will do to me if I vote with you? What will they do? They will fire me? They will kick me out? Don't worry, I'm voting with you." And him and Uriel Lin and another couple of guys from the Likud voted for us. We passed the election. Now, what I'm telling this story because at the time I did not realize that Benjamin Netanyahu was building a method by which he could win the election. He wanted this because that was for him a very good instrument.
Yeah.
So when Peres was waiting for the election in 1996, after the death of Rabin, Bibi was using all what he could to be elected by this law which we passed together.
Right. This was the first election, which was the direct election.
First election. Yeah. And I spent that night in the house of Shimon Peres with my wife and with the family. At the beginning, when the evening started, Peres had 16.5% more than Bibi. And then it fell down 8, 14, 12, 10, 5. At about 1 or 2 a.m., he was at 2%. And I remember we left him. We put him to bed. I said, "Good night, Mr. Prime Minister." He said, "Good night, Mr. Ambassador." I was supposed to be ambassador in the United Nations. So we were neighbors. We crossed the parking lot to get home. In the elevator, his chief of staff says to me, "We just got 1.5%, but 1.5% is still a majority, isn't it?" I got home, the phone was ringing. I picked the phone, my son was calling. He said, "Turn on the television." I turned the television. There was a big chagiga, a big festival of the fiesta of the Likud. They had won the election. That's the way Bibi prepared himself, and that's the way Shimon lost. But still, there was a point in Bibi which we would never forget, that Shimon was the one who sent Yoni to Entebbe, and Shimon made a fantastic eulogy to Yoni when he was buried. And he told me he remains a friend of the Netanyahu family. And what happened afterwards? Bibi is prime minister. He has now to deal not only with Jews, but also with Palestinians and with Arafat. And he has no idea how to do it. Now, that's what Bibi is telling me. We settled in a room in the Sheraton in Tel Aviv, and he told me about his relations with Shimon. And he said, I turned to Shimon. Shimon was the head of the opposition.
Wow.
And the parliament. And I told him, you must help me. And now what happened was that night after night, Shimon would disguise himself with his mustache or something and drive in an unmarked car to Jerusalem to the home of the Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu. Yonat Bartal, perhaps you met her, a girl who was chief of staff, was with him.
Wow.
And Bibi tells me, every night he was come to me and we spent hours. Let's call Sarah. And he deals Sarah. He said, Sarah, Michael is here with me. And I'm telling you when Shimon was coming, tell him. And Sarah said, Michael, you must remember, I was bringing every night a bottle of whiskey, preparing it for Shimon. The morning there was no whiskey in the bottle anymore. And look, if somebody had heard about this thing,
can you imagine?
On real time, they would have hanged Shimon on the Dizengoff Square in Tel Aviv.
Yeah.
He was the head of opposition. During the day in the Knesset, he would attack Bibi and apostrophe him and everything. In the night, he would come and teach him how to work with Arafat.
Wow. Okay. Amazing. Thank you so much. I want to go to questions. We have a little bit of time, but really a master storyteller par excellence. Thank you so much. But let's get a couple of questions in. Mali, את מוכנה? נראה לי שאת צריכה להדליק את זה. Okay, so this gentleman here, you wait for the mic, please. You might need to turn it on. Oh, no. Okay, so shout and I'll repeat the question. Okay.
My question is, what do you think that Shimon Peres improved or made a good observer 2023?
Repeat.
So the question is, and repeating also for our audience who would watching this recorded, the question was, what would, given Peres's strong support for Oslo, what would Peres have thought on October 8th, 2023?
He was dead in October, right?
Yeah, but as in given his support for Oslo, I assume the premise of the question is, would he have had a change of mind about the peace process and the possibility of peace with the Palestinians?
I did not support Oslo.
Right.
I was the only one member of the Labour Party who said, no way, it's a half-cooked agreement, and it can't work. But Peres, you must understand, Peres in his real self, he was a security man, a defense man.
Yeah.
He was a defense man much more than anything else. He tried to become a man of peace, and he wrote this book, which he would have, I think, burned today, The New Middle East, which did not exist because even not him and not Rabin understood exactly what's happening in the Middle East. You know, I have a friend whose name is Victor Kahalani, who is the best hero of Israel. And he said something very smart after October the 7th. It is time that we start to speak to the Arabs in Arabic and not in Yiddish. And that's the point, because the leadership of this country did not understand that when they threatened to attack us, they meant it. They say, they're big mouths, Palestinians. And Peres was a man of defense minister. And for him, that was the most important. And for him, Entebbe and for him the nuclear reactor, and for him buying the weapons in France and the Sinai campaign were much more important than anything else. He came to me afterwards and he told me, let's write a book together, which will be from Dimona to Oslo. He wanted to be the man of peace. He was not the man of peace. He was a man of much deeply, I would say, anchored into the defense of Israel. That was the most important. And I have no doubt that he would have changed his opinion about Oslo after what happened in the 7th of October. Okay. But this, we can't, historians, it's forbidden to say what would have happened if.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Sure.
We didn't know about the 7th of October.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Aside from the 50s, what happened in the 50s that we covered tonight, and aside from the personality aspects of it, how would you evaluate, given who Shimon Peres was with his talents and the times that he lived in, how would you evaluate his success?
How would you evaluate his success?
He lived to his potential for success.
Look, I believe that Peres was very big in defense. I think he had quite a lot of vision about Israel, about what we can do. He believed very much more in the Israelis than we people believe that they can do. I'll give you an example. One day, he was minister of the relations with the region or something like that. He came, he said to me, have you heard about nanotechnology? I said, what's nanotechnology? I don't know what it is. He said, this is about something which is very, 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 very small. And he realized before everybody else in Israel that this was something fantastic. So what did he do? He called the Tshuva, the millionaire Tshuva, who has all the gas fields in Israel. He got from him quite a lot of money. He brought professors from the university. And you had to see his office filled full with scientists and engineers and people. And he succeeded to develop with these people nanotechnology. Today, we are number 2 in the world in nanotechnology. Why? Because he had the vision.
This is when he was president? Was this when he was president?
No, he was not president yet. It was before.
Because I was going to say, because we haven't talked about his presidency, but his presidency, I think, seemed to me at least to be typified by this exact thing. He saw his role as president as being this sort of visionary who could talk about Israel's potential, and it was like, in a way, it was kind of the perfect position for him because he wasn't involved in the political stuff.
And he also he found out when I was at the time the chairman of the election campaign in 1981.
Yeah.
At that time, Peres was terrible on the media. He was appearing on television. He was frozen, and he was looking like that. He was frozen, terrible. The following day, he would say, "How was I?" I would say, "Listen, we got the polls afterwards." That was what people did not remember what he said. They remembered that just he was frozen, and then with the time, he found slowly, he found the right tone, how to speak, how to appear on television. And then he became a world statesman, a man capable to inspire quite a lot of people abroad. But he also believed in this peace. Now, why I said that he, Rabin, did not understand. Remember the famous meeting in the South Lawn of the White House when they signed the agreement with Arafat.
Yeah.
Right? Oslo. I heard the speeches. I saw the agreement. I went to Rabin and I said, listen, you actually have agreed to accept Palestinian state.
Mm.
He said, no way. No way. There is not going to be a state, an Arafat state. I said, but you agreed to that. You opened the door.
Mm.
I went to Shimon. I said, Shimon, this is a Palestinian state. He said, no, we're going to have an upgraded autonomy for the Palestinians.
Mm.
I mean, he even spoke with Leah Rabin.
Mm.
She said, they are sure that there's going to be no. I said, how can they be sure?
Mm.
I think there was so much enthusiasm, both in Paris and in Rabin, that perhaps they've reached finally a peace with the Palestinians, that they did not realize, did not understand what they had in their hands.
Right.
And that's why Oslo finally did not succeed.
Okay, let's have one last question. I thought I saw a hand up before. Yes, sir. Yeah. If you can you stand up? Yes. Is there a politician today who you think carries forward Peres's ideas or legacy in any way?
The answer is simply no. No. That's the point. I still need a little bit of vision, a little bit of hope for the future in our politicians from left and from right. I don't see it. I don't see it. Today, perhaps the world has changed.
Yeah.
When you look at America, you see, and look at the way the president is speaking. I don't know, but all this vision, I see the vision in other people. I see this vision in the reservists in the army. All these guys, all the time we mocked them. We said this generation, they are nothing. They're like, in my time, they call us the espresso generation. Espresso was something very important. Now they said, no, what they are just about playing with their cell phones. And look what kind of people we have.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And they really hope, and you see the beautiful Israel in them. I see that from them must come the future. And when I see that the political field today, it's full of has-beens. All the leaders. I believe, I try to say to people, you have to create a kind of movement from the grassroots for the future of Israel. But finally, I see the same old politicians starting against the same. And I'm not sure that they really understand today what they understood perhaps on the 7th of October. I wrote an article about 8 years ago in Israel Hayom, in the paper of the Likud, which was. And I wrote an article saying we have to destroy the Hamas, because if not, Hamas is preparing to destroy us. Nobody reacted. And then I met Lieberman, and he told me about his report. Lieberman was Minister of Defense. And he gave the cabinet a report saying exactly what the Hamas is going to do. Nobody reacted. And I heard other people, from the Mossad and people from the Amman, very few of them really understood the danger of Hamas and what's happening. But when you speak to people about what's bad in the country, and when you're in the politics, you also have to tell them what is good, what we have to try to do. And that's why I'm saying, when I see these reservists who come home after 3 years of fighting.
Excuse me, sorry. סליחה, אפשר להנמיך את זה? Yeah, sorry, sir.
So I don't see today the vision in the leaders today, and we have to go through a certain period, I think. That will come. That will come. But there's always, watch the French call it le creux de la vague, which means this part of the wave. When the wave comes, you have a kind of empty space beneath it. Okay? We are there now. And finally, the wave will continue. That's why I'm very, very optimistic about the future of Israel. But the present is not very pleasant. I also must tell you one thing. We are called Am HaSefer, the people of the book. You know, there are parts of our people in whose house you won't see a book, one book. We have so many people who don't understand what Jewish is, what Jewish means. A lot of people of Israel, you won't find a book in their house. They won't read even a newspaper. They don't read. They don't want to read. That's another problem. We have, first of all, to educate our own people, to bring back the love, not only for fighting, but the love for the country. And I meet these guys, these pioneers. You meet them in the Negev, you meet them in Galilee, everywhere place. They are wonderful people. So if we can just pass this difficult period, I believe that this country can do marvels. It's not stam, not without any reason, that we became, first of all, so strong in the high tech. 20 years ago, who would have believed that we might find such people and find such exit? And every week, every month, you read about an exit for $2 billion, for $20 billion. We didn't know about it. We thought we were doomed to be always dependent on help of Jews abroad. No. So you must believe that this country, these people, has no equal in the world. No equal in the world. And he can do marvels.
Michael Bar Zohar, who managed not only to tell us some incredible stories about Shimon Peres, but also ended with a very Peres-esque, optimistic, hopeful note. So we appreciate that. Thank you much. Thank you everyone for coming. Next week, the last in this series about Ariel Sharon, next Sunday. Thank you very much.